You got your wire running down
Oh,
there.
yeah.
You got it up high.
Yeah.
We didn't know
But
what
my
to do.
hair's straight.
Yes.
So
You spent a mess of time on that.
a lot of time on that, yeah. So anyway, good day, nice weather. Hasn't rained yet at all today.
Not yet, but we're
So,
hopeful.
We're hopeful. A day without rain would not be Sussex County.
That's right.
So anyway, we've got a good show lined up tonight.
What did you think of that
I thought
Anthony
Anthony's
show?
interview was excellent.
Dick Vermeil, yeah.
Yep, Dick Vermeil, and he's right up in Philadelphia. And now Anthony's going to try to get him to come down here next time he's in the area. Good
Buy
job.
us dinner.
Buy us dinner.
Yeah.
Yep. So, well, Anthony can buy us dinner even if he doesn't show up. All right, we have got Dr. Randall Horsley coming up in a little bit.
We do.
He's gonna talk to us about, I think, nutrition.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's going to be chiropractic nutrition or...
It's all works together.
Yeah, it all works together. Anyway, then we got Anthony Joseph back with some more sports. Sandy Pryor, she has a thing called Filled with Hope. It's a sock ministry, believe it or not.
I thought that was your ministry, the sock ministry.
No, but that's how we got to know of her. So
Okay.
very interesting story she has. Then we got Steve Grossman with the Delaware Radio Network.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, they built a new studio up in Dover, so
It's on the right-hand side.
It's on the right-hand side of your internet dial, internet
Right.
radio dial.
Yep. So anyway, we got that. So we got a lot going on here.
We
want to
do.
remind people, if you want to be on Catch It Live, I don't even know how far out we're booked up, but it's kind of neat how we're getting booked up a couple months in advance. So if you want to be on, kind of think about it ahead of time and let us know. Best way to do it would be just shoot me an email at jim@catchitlive.com.
That's right.
I just realized I haven't checked it in a few days. So I have to say it more often to remind me to check it. So anyway. All right, we'll start with a word of prayer, get on
Yes.
with the show, and go from there. Is that all right?
That's okay.
All right. Well, dear Lord, we just thank you for this day and all the good things in our lives. We thank you for our family and our health and our businesses and the opportunity to have this show. We just pray our words be encouraging and positive, and I also ask that our lives just be an anointing to somebody and that we be a good blessing to all the people that we know. So I just ask that you bless this show and this night and our time and our energies, and I just ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I got a lot going on. I was going to talk about a couple things, but I'll wait. I want to get started on the show. We're now in the furniture business, sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah, and it's selling.
Is
So,
it?
yeah, and it's kind
Awesome.
of exciting. So
That's good.
Yeah, so I'm kind of glad of that. The ad hasn't even actually came out in print yet. It comes out in the guide tomorrow.
Okay.
So I think she'll be real busy with that. So if you need some furniture, I'll tell you more about it in just a little bit. But it's a heck of a deal on some brand new furniture that we bought a bunch of it, and we're selling it. And I'll tell you where and when and how
Well, I
you
saw
can
this
get it.
flyer in your window at your
Yes.
store, and it caught my eye. I said, "Are you
That's a good
serious?
deal.
Is that a
Yeah.
good deal?"
Yep. So
That is a crazy deal there.
and she's got it all put together and set up on display and everything.
Really?
So yeah,
Nice.
We're hoping this will take off. So you never know
Very
what we're
good.
going to be talking about. So how about we take a commercial break? We'll get Dr. Horsley on here, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
I'm gonna eat
We'll be
some
right
dinner.
back. You're going to eat some dinner. What are you going to get?
Probably gonna get the salad bar.
Salad bar. That's a good thing. Yeah, $5.95. You might as well get the spaghetti.
I should, but no, I
You're
don't
not.
want to.
Okay.
Because
All
if
right.
I get it, I'll eat it. I don't want to eat spaghetti.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to
All right. Trying to quit eating spaghetti.
lose some of this.
Okay.
Glad we don't have the profile cameras on.
Yeah, it'd be bad. All right, we'll be right back with
We'll be
Dr.
back.
Horsley in just a few minutes, so stay tuned.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, we are back with Catch It Live here at Jimmy's Grill in Bridgeville, and I forgot to invite you. Everybody's invited to come on out and have dinner. The food is great. I had a hot roast beef sandwich, and I had the salad bar, and I'll probably have some more of that salad bar. So anyway, it's all good. The restaurant's really moving. They've got a $5.95 all-you-can-eat spaghetti dinner special on Tuesday nights, and that includes the all-you-can-eat salad bar, so you get both items for one money. So anyway, if you're hungry, get on down here. If you're not hungry, come on down here anyway and hang out with us. We're going to be here till about 7:30, 8 o'clock. All right. Dr. Horsley, how you doing? Dr. Randall Horsley.
Good,
correct?
Good. Thank you. Yes.
All right. And
Thanks
you're working down there at the Peninsula Chiropractic Center?
I am.
With Dr. T?
Dr. T, yes.
And you guys are getting people weller than they were.
We're trying. We're trying our best. You bet.
You do chiropractic.
Yes, sir.
And then I guess with the other thing being you do nutritional coaching, would that be a good way to word it? Or
sure.
Just nutritional awareness? Or
all the above.
We
specialize, or I specialize in nutrition.
Right.
And, of course, I'm a chiropractor, so chiropractic. Nutrition has really been bastardized. There's a lot of nutritionists out there. Okay. But what they're calling nutrition, by definition, really isn't nutrition at all. So one of the things that I'm really into is you don't want to go too far on one side, but what I like to do is really look at the research. We're an evidence-based clinic or an evidence-based doctor.
Okay.
So it's all about actual evidence of the research. We follow very closely, and we like to wade through the myths. So in that sense, we put together a nutritional therapy program.
Okay.
A lot of people that might think that they're being health conscious
okay.
really aren't, and we try to get them back on track with nutrition.
Okay. So how does it work? How does it start? Somebody would shoot you an email or give you a call or come in for a consultation? Like somebody's listening or watching, they say, okay, what's step A? What do I need to do? Especially
today, everybody's very skeptical. So we don't approach really anybody with just, hey, come on in for nutrition. They usually come in and, I mean, let's face it, usually they see a chiropractor at the last resort. You know, usually they've gone through how many, medical doctors or other doctors,
and
whatever.
Pills and whatever.
When the pain's, where they've had enough, that's when they finally come into us. And so we usually get the symptoms that are really progressed and kind of the chronic end of the ailments. But with that said, we treat them. They usually get great results with chiropractic.
I would agree.
And once they have a little, they've established the fact that it works and that there's something there, and these guys might know a little something. That's when they sometimes will, believe it or not, will actually ask us a lot of times if we have something in nutrition that we can offer, and if they don't, we bring it up. And we just say, if you want to talk about your nutritional status. I like to talk a lot about engines and fuel.
Okay.
Chiropractic rebuilds the engine, but if you have a rebuilt engine and you dump crappy fuel in there all the time, it's still going to run really bad. Mm-hmm. But if you have a really old engine and you use great fuel, it's still going to run kind of bad. But if you got a rebuilt engine, which is what really chiropractic can do for you, and couple that with the right nutrition, usually what you find is just an engine that purrs. And that's a very much analogy that I like to make. It's very much like the human body.
And you help people find the correct balance for them.
That's correct. It's real easy. So you ask, where does it start? It starts with a purification program usually. We like to detox people. And who needs detox? Well, look around. I think everybody, with our diets today and our foods that we call food today that really isn't food and all that, and that's a whole different conversation.
And detox is simply detoxifying your body of a lot of the junk and gunk that you have put in it over the years.
That's right. Yep.
Kind of a cleansing, more or less.
It is, and it gets them to the starting point where we can actually start the nutritional therapy. A lot of them come in and thank us, thinking it's over. They feel great. I can't believe that changed my life. And we're like, no, you're at the starting point.
Right.
So anyway.
So really, you're below the bottom. You're just bringing them up to the bottom, and then they go from there.
They come up for air and realize, oh yeah, that's what it feels like.
Okay.
But yeah, we got a ways to go.
So you have a lot of customers that have done this?
I started my practice. I'm a new doctor. I'm still learning a lot, and probably will be the rest of my life. But I started about 2 years ago, and with zero. But now we've got, I've probably got about 280, 300 patients now that are actively involved in the nutritional program.
And these are life-changing changes.
A lot of them are. A few of them miraculous, some people would say. I mean, it's amazing how I wish everybody could maybe see some of the real change that true nutrition can give people in their lives. And I'm talking about some of the people that just lose all hope. I mean, they just given up, and they just happen to kind of Forrest Gump their way into what we have, and of course not even expecting anything. Of course, those are the greatest stories, because it really blows their mind, and then it really puts their life, give them their life back. And
so it's a renewed vim, vigor, just a balance of health and wellness.
It is. It's chiropractic coupled with nutrition is how I like to practice. That's how I've built my whole practice around that. And so far, it's just been amazing results. And you don't fix what's not broke, and you keep going with it. So I'm trying to, if anything, build on that.
Chiropractic, the way I would describe it would be it's an aligning of the spine, which has a lot to do with the nerves and the nervous system, which kind of rejuvenates and causes everything from vision to everything to be better. It all starts like with the nervous system. I mean, so it can affect your digestive system, it can affect your health system, it can affect everything.
You know,
Is
Jim,
that about right?
are you sure you're not a chiropractor? I mean, I couldn't.
No, but I'm trying to get it down right. I used to always talk like it's like a front end alignment was the way I used to look at it. But in other words, I guess our nervous system is all connected there somehow.
Yeah.
And now when somebody gets their back adjusted, there's like a noise you hear. Are them like air pockets or something?
That's called a cavitation. The medical term is a cavitation. And the crack or the pop. And matter of fact, we have a poster that I need to hang up actually that says chiropractors do not pop or crack backs, or a lot of times they'll come in, hey, crack my back. We know it's all in good fun, but technically that's about the farthest thing from what we do. That pop or the crack that you hear is nothing more than the gases that are leaving the joint capsule of a motion unit in the vertebral spine. So, layman's terms, you're hearing a pop. Now, there's two types. The pop that you hear when you grab a friend, when you were kids in school. I don't know if you guys did, but when we used to do that, and you kind of pick them up and you feel their back pop and you hear it. That's a compensatory. That's a whole different deal, and that can be very, very dangerous. That's something that if you don't have the right, line of drive, and I mean, there's a reason it takes 5 years for us to go to school and learn how to do this correctly without hurting people. So, but
otherwise you'd all just do bear hugs.
Absolutely, the pops you hear in the knuckles, that's not the same. I mean, that's something that you need to really be careful. Just because you hear a pop doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing. As a matter of fact, some of the best adjustments I've ever delivered, you don't hear a thing. You feel the bone move, and it goes right. I mean, and it gets the alignment right, takes the impingements off the nerves and lets the nerves communicate. It opens that line of communication up to the rest of the body or wherever that nerve route was going. But as far as a pop or a crack, it's very... You don't hear that every single time, and you don't need to hear that for a great adjustment.
Okay.
So
don't rate the adjustment on how many pops you get.
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a commercial break.
Okay.
Then I got more questions, I think. All right?
All righty.
All right, so we'll be right back, folks. We catch it live, and while we're on break, get ready to come on down here and get some dessert, and if you need to, you can buy us dessert while you're here. At least me, anyway. All right, so we'll be right back in just a minute.
on.
All right, we're back at Jimmy's Grill in Bridgeville, and you are invited to come on out and hang out with us, have a cup of coffee, have some dessert, or whatever you feel like having. Now, Dr. Horsley, what do you want to talk about next?
Well, how much time do we have?
Oh, about 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, maybe I can share a few experiences that some of the people don't really get to hear or see.
Okay.
Behind closed doors, a lot of folks, they feel better with nutrition. They want to feel better. They don't know really who to believe really on nutrition or the subject, but it's all about the results. And as far as let me just share a chiropractic story real quick, and then I'll share a nutrition story. How's that?
All right.
There was a there was a couple, a young couple that had a baby up in Washington that was sick from birth and was in intensive care. And of course the hospital, it was above their grade, and they ended up referring them to Mayo Clinic. Okay. And they went to the Children's Hospital, and they had some of the best look at her, and the baby wasn't doing very good at all. She wouldn't suckle. She wasn't getting nutrition from birth. Okay. And they could not figure out what was going on, and she was failing pretty quickly. That she couldn't get nutrition in her body at all. And this is where nutrition and chiropractic, nutrition needs chiropractic, chiropractic needs nutrition to really make it complete. And this is a great story of that. But what happened was, make a long story short, she was over about a year, they were feeding her IV fluids, were the only way this baby could get any kind of nutrition. Finally, they kind of gave up. They just said, it's to the point now where there's not much more we can do. You might as well go home and spend the last few days or weeks with the baby in the comfort of your home. One of those type of deals. His neighbor, they took the baby back, but the neighbor came over and he says, well, have you tried chiropractic? And he said, no. But what did he have to lose? Well, he ended up calling a chiropractor, and he brought him over, and he put the baby on this little table that you wear around your neck. Put the baby down, and this baby, by the way, constantly from birth had this crunched up face and just this frown, and would never suckle, nothing, and. Within about 5 minutes, that chiro just did a nice little sweep of the cervical spine and found immediately the atlas, the first bone, was way out. Did a little 4-ounce adjustment. Literally within 5-6 minutes, he found and adjusted the baby. Immediately, the baby stopped crying. The frown disappeared. Was literally going after the suckle reflex for the mom. Was all about eating again finally. I mean, the baby's instincts just kicked in. Everything just started happening. And, that's one of the miraculous, people would call it's a miracle or whatever. But it really isn't. It's basic science. Where humans are one of the most aggressive, and when it comes to birth, it's the most dangerous of any animal species on the planet. And it's the twisting and the pulling and the tugging, and usually for the doctor to go catch his golf game, for the afternoon, they got to get through a certain amount, and even the position of the mother is not at all anatomically feasible for birth. That's, again, the comfort of the doctor to be able to deliver the baby. So, all these aspects. But what's happened with all these births is that the C1 gets out of place, and it's cartilage at the time. It's not even bone, but that's where the brainstem comes down. Every nerve in the brain is coming through that C1, and when that gets cockeyed, you can have a load of problems. And you can try chasing symptoms until you're blue in the face, but one little adjustment in chiropractic can relieve that entire interference. And that's all that happened. But, that, again, people, if they just saw, and look what the mom and the dad, and, they say, well, the chiropractic probably doesn't save lives, but it makes you feel better. But no, it saves lives. It really does. There's many instances where it can.
So how young can you adjust a child?
Hours after birth,
really?
You bet. Matter of fact, highly, highly, highly recommended.
Because the baby's going through so much from being manhandled,
sure.
More or less.
If you look at the research, look at the autistic, you have a lot of autism. You have even retardation after a while from lack of phrenic nerves, lungs, lack of oxygen, carotids, all kinds of things. Everything in your body has to communicate with the brain or it's not going to work right. If that happens to be something that's feeding your brain oxygen, you're going to have mental retardation. If it has something to do with heart, you're going to have infections and autoimmune diseases, and there's a list this long of those. These that don't just pop out of nowhere. These things are happening for a reason. It's usually interference that can be removed. People just need to understand what that is and what it does. But that's a chiropractic story real quick. Let me share a nutritional story that's one of my favorites. Another baby. I guess there's a lot of adults too. A ton of stories with adults, but this was a 2-year-old female child that had a major problem with nutrition. Just something wasn't right. Tons and tons of fever. She had a fever since birth, 102, 103, 104. It was very common, 2-3 times a month, to rush the kid into the hospital for ice baths because the fever was getting too high. After 105, 106, you got to get it down. This was going on for years. Well, at least the year and a half, 2 years, she was about 2 years old. Finally, came to a chiropractor. And this time, he adjusted. Everything was good. And remember, this is a sweaty, very depressed, limp, lifeless type 2-year-old that he's working on. But ended up doing a nutritional muscle response test on her and found that there wasn't even hardly anything that he found except one thing, and it was a cardio, something with her heart. And he ended up giving her some Cardio Plus, which is a standard process product that we use, and just dissolved it in some of the milk that she was drinking, crushed it, let her kind of suck on a little portion of it, and got enough in there over a course of about an hour. She had about 2 or 3 of them in her system. And it was on the way home, he got a call from the mom. Couldn't stop crying, and of course that puts the fear of God in a doctor when, what happened. But it was a good thing. She basically said, and by the way, she's never heard the 2-year-old talk ever. Never heard her voice at all. Well, she was in her car driving home and heard a voice she's never heard before, which was her daughter's voice saying, "Mommy, more." And she was pointing to the purse. And so she picked out the animal crackers, thumped them away. "Mommy, more." Well, brought her milk out. She knocked that away. "Mommy, more." And the only thing left in there was the bottle of Cardio Plus, and she wanted that. So she let her suck on one of those. But she ended up having a full recovery from that, and it was just a cardio problem. So, when your body's nutritionally deplete, these aren't miracles. These are very easily explained. But when you remove interference from communication between the brain and the body, and then you give that body what it needs, the proper nutrients and balance to live, you're going to have health. And that's really what it comes down to. But those are 2 stories that are just really incredible.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, I do need to know, how do people get a hold of you? That would be a big question.
We are at the Peninsula Chiropractic Center, right off of Sussex Highway in Seaford, 26685 Sussex Highway. We are phone number 302-629-4344. 302-629-4344.
629-4344.
Yep.
So whether they need chiropractic care, I presume you take insurance?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
And we probably would also take a cash paying customer?
If you twist our arm, we might.
Okay.
Yeah, we will.
So,
absolutely.
But locally owned, locally operated,
Yep.
good local people just there to help you with your wellness and your well-being.
Dr. Trillia and I are there, and we'll be more than happy to take on new patients, and you betcha, come on down, we'll take good care of it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Randall Horsley. All right, we'll be right back. We catch it live.
And welcome back. We're live at Jimmy's Grill in Bridgeville. I'm Anthony Joseph, and now I'd like to welcome in my special guest, Joseph Heyman from the Chesapeake Christian School. And you had a big game against Greenwood Mennonite today. Thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
How did your team perform today in the semifinals against Greenwood Mennonite?
We took it on the chin, 11-2. But for the most part, I thought our kids performed very well, considering we've been considered the doormat of the conference for years. We ended up third this year, and our record against Greenwood was 1-2. So we have been in a position of playing well. But for the most part, I think Greenwood was really pumped up for us. Very competitive team. But I thought, in the meantime, our guys held their own. A little deficient in pitching in the way of control. Number 14 for Greenwood pitched and also played third. He was phenomenal this year. He was phenomenal today. So our hats off to him and the entire team.
How would you describe your team's performance this season? What was your record overall?
Our overall record, 3-6. 3-6. Well, and that's with the playoffs. 3-6. Mm-hmm. Last year we did not win a game. This year we won 3 conference games. So yes, I feel as though with 2 seniors, which means a lot coming back. Our 2 seniors were great leaders, but in the meantime, 3 conference victories. Considering we didn't win any conference game last year, I'm very pleased with the guys.
And your team's from Easton. Who are some of the other opponents that you face throughout the year?
Salisbury Christian, Holly Grove Christian. And also in Easton, we scrimmage St. Peter and Paul.
Do you try to schedule a non-conference games, or how does that work with your conference?
We would like to schedule non-conference games. I think at times, public schools, as per se, they feel as though we're not competitive enough. But I think we've come a long ways. And I think they found out that this year, having played Holly Grove and Salisbury and competing very well, I think other teams will find out, yes, that they feel as though Chesapeake has come of age to the extent that they would like to schedule us from now on. So,
what has your team learned that they can use maybe next season?
Stay together. In the midst of opposition, in the midst of, let's say the other pitchers doing well, we have to find a way to get base runners and also key hits. And I thought the latter part of the game today, we did that. We did that because we were down 10-0, and it was all but just about over. And we got the bases loaded and a key hit with 2 outs to drive in 2 runs. But once again, I thought Greenwood being a worthy opponent, they persevered in the end.
Who were some of the key performers on your team that helped you out today and throughout the year?
Chris Harding, Chris Gleckler, and Joey Duncan. Joey Duncan, center fielder, who came in relief today. Chris Harding, let's say number 1 pitcher. He started today, and I thought he did very well. Greenwood, good hitting team. And Chris Gleckler, he's our second pitcher and leading hitter and leading RBI man. Both Chris's are coming back, I'm very happy to say. But in the meantime, yes, once again, I hats off to Greenwood because I thought they handled our guys, our key hitters, very well.
And who were some of the key performers for Greenwood Mennonite?
Trevor Schrock. And I can't think of the pitcher's name, I'm sorry, but he batted third, and he pitched. He ended up with a triple and a double in key situations. Please forgive me, I can't think of his name right now.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
How was the defense today, your defense?
I thought we were okay, but being a young team, I thought we made some mistakes in key situations. And we learned from it. So the rest of the game, I thought we were air-free. But in the meantime, when you're down 4 runs in the first inning, it's tough to climb back in the game.
And how many seasons have you been the head coach?
At Chesapeake Christian School, we're a new program, okay, 14 years. We've had the baseball team, this is going on our 5th official year. Basketball and soccer for 14 years. But baseball, yeah, we're the new kids on the block, which is okay. As much as I enjoy soccer and basketball, baseball is pretty special to me.
Now, in this area, especially from Easton, and you think of the Cambridge area, Harold Baines, have you seen some young key players that you think one day might be drafted from this area?
Yes. From all the talk as far as the Harding, Junior Harding in Cambridge, I've yet to see him. But what a very talented ball player. Pitcher, and I think he also plays third, and with a tremendous hitter. St. Michael's, because I live in Easton, and I know Brian Femi very well, what a very nice program he's been turning over year after year after year. And from my understanding, he does have at least 3 players who could be, in a position to be a professional someday. And as a matter of fact, speaking of Harold Baines, we used to play ball against one another growing up.
How was that like?
His dad was the most impressive one because his dad played with us too. Whew. Harold Baines was just a young guy then. His dad, when he would hit a ground ball, you could almost literally see the earthworms pop out of the ground. That's how strong he was. Just being a little facetious, but in the meantime, that's how hard he would hit the ball.
Right.
And then this young, scrawny kid of Harold Baines would just make contact and hit the ball literally a country mile. Pretty impressive at that age.
He was impressive when he played with the Baltimore Orioles.
Yes.
What a stroke.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
He has to have one of the best swings
Yes.
ever.
Mm-hmm. I like the way he stayed humble over the years, too. Stayed very humble.
He did it the right way, didn't he?
Yes. Yes. Well, you trust in God, you got to do it the right way. That's number one.
And he had a son, I believe, played in the area, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He went on to school, and at this point, I can't remember, what he's doing now, but very nice family.
Now,
Tremendous family.
You follow the Baltimore Orioles?
Number one. Number one.
And they have a big game tonight against the San Diego Padres.
Yes, yes. I like interleague play, and I like the way they're doing it this year. But I wish they would cut back on the league play as far as conference play. Playing Boston and Yankees and Tampa Bay so many times. But that's not my call. But I still think that being in a conference with Boston, the Yankees, and Tampa Bay, and we can't beat Toronto, it does make them better. It's very competitive, night in and night out, yes.
I think it really helps to have Manny Machado because they're now talking, who would you build your team with? Would it be Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, or Manny Machado? And I think you have to say Machado because he's playing third, he's a natural shortstop.
Yes.
And they compared him to Alex Rodriguez.
Yes.
But I think he's going to be better than Alex Rodriguez. I think if he keeps working hard and staying humble,
Yes.
I think one day he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Very good. I feel the same way. I love the way he played within himself by getting nice, timely hits. No question, runners are on base, and I think the pitchers prefer not walking him. And the pitchers probably still feel as though, well, what a young guy. Hey, let's throw at him. And he's coming through time and time out. Now, it's pretty impressive at this age. But no question, he's surrounded by guys like, Adam Jones,
Nick Markakis.
Weeders.
Matt Weeders.
And what a nice shortstop that he has on shot of him, too, J.J.
Hardy.
Yeah. So it's nice what Buck is doing by, putting those guys around him. And I like Buck's confidence in him, too, by putting him in number 2 in the order.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
That's for sure.
Yes.
It's a lot of fastballs.
Yes. Yes. Very good call. Exactly. Because the leadoff batter, he's been getting on a lot, and you want to throw heat so he won't be stealing the base. But if you throw an off-speed pitch, Machado stays back nice to set it, to pull it, and he's on the fastball to drive it to right field at times. The starting pitching is the key right now.
That's true.
Starting pitching. If they can give us a good 6 to 7, the relievers are speaking for themselves. Pretty impressive. Jim Johnson does a good job too, huh?
Yeah, he does an excellent job. But
Yes.
you're right, they've had some injuries, and Miguel
Yes.
Gonzalez, and we'll have to
Yeah.
see what they will do, maybe a trade. David Price is on the market with Tampa Bay.
Really? Really? Wow. It's a lot of money.
He's
lot
on
of
the
money.
market. Doesn't mean they're going to
That's
trade
true.
him away because they want a lot of prospects.
Yes, exactly. And I think the Orioles have a great farm system too right now, with pitching and prospective position players. So I'd stay pat if I were them, and go with the same way they did last year. If they need help, call on the farm. And they came up and they did admirably. Did a super job. I was very impressed. I tell you what, the main thing I said, because I'm born and bred Oriole, last year, just give us a good game. Never bow out. Just be competitive to the end. 93 victories. You couldn't ask for any more. I was very pleased. Naturally, you get spoiled and everything to the extent that, hey, let's beat the Yankees. Let's move on. But
And they have the Yankees coming up May the 20th
yes,
at Camden
Yes.
Yards, and I imagine a lot of people will be in attendance.
yes. Along with the Beltway competition with the Nationals.
Yes. That should be some good ones, too.
SPX is a good one. Yes.
Coach Heyman, we're all out of time. We have to wrap
Yes.
this up. Is there anything you'd like to add? I really appreciate you taking the time after your game today.
It's really a pleasure to be on. I just like all the sports young athletes to know. Trust that God has blessed you with the athletic talent to do well. Stay humble and enjoy the game.
Thanks. That's Coach Joseph Heyman taking the time today. As we're live at Jimmy's Grill in Bridgeville, more to come.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
We're back.
We are back.
Man, this place is packed, but
It
there's
is.
still a couple seats left. So if you're hungry or want dessert, this place is hopping. But man, the restaurant is full. You can smell the food. The plates are clanging, and the people are definitely working hard.
It's all the
here.
good deals. It's the $5.95 spaghetti.
Yes.
It's the $5.95 spaghetti with
The salad bar.
the salad bar for
and garlic bread.
yeah for $5.95.
Yep.
That's what it is. All you can eat
All
on both
that
of them.
for one money.
One money.
One money for everything.
Now are they auctioning it off back there?
No.
Okay,
no.
that one money
They have
talk is
seedless
auction talk.
croutons. I saw them.
Yes.
So
And shellless
shellless
sunflower
garbanzo
seeds.
beans. Oh, that's right.
Shellless sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds.
Man, you
Yeah.
ought to see the guy in the back that's peeling every one of those.
He's
sunflowers.
busy. He's busy, but he's working hard.
It's a
And
bowl
he's pretty
like
good at
that,
it. Yeah.
and it's that deep.
Yeah, I bet it took him an hour or two. It's kind of like picking crabs. So, but anyway, so we have got Steve Grossman going to come up here in a minute.
Yeah, he's going
And,
to talk about Delaware Right
Radio Network.
Delaware Right Radio Network.
The DRRN, the DRRN, Delaware Right Radio Network. You have to say it fast. Delaware Right Radio Network.
So we've had an
Delaware Right
interesting
Radio
show so
Network.
far. We've,
Unbelievable. We had
the
Dick
guy-
Vermeil's interview in the beginning.
We did. Yep, that was
Yep,
on
Dr.
Anthony's
Randall
show.
Horsley's. Very informative.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing what a chiropractic adjustment can do. It really,
It is.
really is.
Oh, it is.
You know,
I
it's kind
agree.
of almost hard to believe that everything, flows from there through there, but it really does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, we're gonna talk to Steve for a little bit and see what's going on there. Again, we are encouraging you to get in your car and come on out here to Jimmy's Grill. But listen, I want to talk again about a couple things. We're starting to get a few more people talk to us about doing events,
Right.
streaming events, things like that. And I want to make sure you know that we're open-minded. So if you have an event, whether it's kind of local or maybe not so local, we're mobile. We can travel. But we went to Wilmington the other day.
We did.
And we had a ball, in other words. And we video streamed people. You can still see it at Catch It Live, but it was people rappelling over a 17-story building.
Yeah, and the HD video is up now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's up the other day. The internet
So that's
was
the heavy-duty one.
That's right.
In other
The
words.
internet was a little spotty there, so we had to go with a lower quality video for the live feed, just to make sure it was a good, solid video the whole time. But once we got done, we were able to upload the high definition video. And we also have high definition video of Dan Gaffney coming down the side of the building
Makes
with a
me
helmet
nervous.
cam on.
He's looking down, and you can see 17 stories down. You can see his toes, too. So, but that's worth watching. But just want to let you know, if you have something that you would like us to stream or be involved with, another thing is if you own a business and you're having a grand opening or some kind of an open house or something like that, and let's just say even if you had a radio station there, but yet you would like somebody to be there to show your product while you're talking on the radio or
Right.
something like that, we can help make that happen. So just give us a call, 337-7300, or shoot me an email to jim@catchitlive.com, and we'll see what we can do and work it out and help you promote your business or your cause or your organization or whatever. So with that said, I think we'll take another commercial break.
Yep, take a quick break. We're going to be
And then
right
we're gonna-
back with Steve,
Grossman.
Delaware
Correct?
Right Radio Network.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm too.
I am too.
All right,
All right,
we'll be
we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, we're back, and I got my good friend Steve Grossman, and welcome to Catch It Live.
Thank you, Jim.
This is
Thank
your
you.
first time on the show, isn't it?
I've sat on the other side and listened to the boss do this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. So, what is up with you? You were busy. You helped Jeff Craig with his campaign.
I worked with Jeff Craig's gubernatorial campaign last year. Have been
I
involved.
thought he ran a good campaign.
We made the incumbent spend a lot of money on us instead of spending money on local legislative races. So, some of the goals that we had were there. It would have been nice to win and have a better showing, but, it kind of led us into what we're doing today with Delaware Right. But I've been playing politics in Delaware since 1984 was the first campaign I worked.
Really?
State Senate campaign.
Teenagers.
So I was a junior in college at the time.
Really?
So.
Now, what got you interested in politics?
I just love politics. I grew up across the street from the committee woman in Pennsylvania, where I grew up.
Okay.
So the Republican committee woman lived across the street. So we played the politics as young kids.
Really?
Moving signs and doing the campaign stuff. So
Properly positioning them.
Properly positioning them or moving them. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I learned how to be a young Republican at a young age, so that was
Very
good. That was good. The offshoot of the gubernatorial campaign was how do we continue to grow the Republican Party, grow the message, and build us back into a majority party. And Jeff and I talked after the campaign and thought that this was a way to go in coming up with a blog that we unveiled back in February that has been up and active and has good days, it has bad days. And we're getting ready to embark on the radio side, the internet radio station.
Okay.
We're starting to build content. It's been a little slower than we would have liked, but I'd rather do it correctly the first time. And we've built a studio in Dover, and right up by Dover High School on Walker Road. It's not a computer and Skype. It's a real studio, 4 microphones, a mixing board, 4 phone lines, so we can take incoming phone calls, and we're going to be working on that. That's the next phase of what we're doing.
So this is going to be an
internet-based radio
right, show,
right,
more or less.
Right, internet radio show, and then also the podcast and be able to create content, not just political content, but community content. Whether it's school boards, whether like you do with your video side, businesses. There's no reason why with social media the way it is, we can get to the voters in Delaware through Facebook because self-identified and cheap. But we can also, have businesses that want to come in and send out audio files in their newsletters instead of it being a written newsletter.
Okay.
So people can.
So you would help them produce that.
We would help them produce that, and that would be a revenue stream for us. We would also work with potential candidates down the road. We're going to have the ability to do polling. Which is important data for elections.
Okay.
Meaning
where you would call people?
We would call people and we would poll on issues or, push polls for candidates and raise name ID and generate advocacy for whatever. And it could be, a school board election, it could be a legislative election, it could be a local municipal election, or it could be a grand opening for a business, and you just have a list of people that you want to contact that we can generate the content to. So it's kind of like
put it all together.
Right. It's kind of like the audio side of what you and Colin do on the video side. We actually, have talked about doing the video side of it, but as you know, we're going to meet tomorrow, and there's no sense trying to reinvent the wheel. If you guys are doing it successfully, we can find a way to partner some things. I had the pleasure of taking you and Colin and going up to Lev Hall that day. It was a great day. It
looked like familiar territory to you.
I spent a little over 4 years working in that building, so
really,
it was a lot of fun. But it was nice taking you your first time to show you how easy it is to have access to our elected officials. I mean, we just walked into the office and said, "Hi, Senator, can we talk to you for a few minutes?" And he said, "Sure," and we did it. And we need to get more people involved. I don't blame the politicians for how messed up things seem to be in your world, in my world, and the world out there. It's the 90% of the people who don't get off their butts to do anything about it that we need to engage those people. So how do you do that? You get them involved in some way. You talk to them. You know, we've had episodes where people have talked about, well, we need to do minority outreach, we need to do this outreach, we need to do that outreach. No, you need to talk to your next door neighbor. We need to get back to where we were years ago, where we talked to each other, we knew who our neighbors were, and get them engaged. Today's school board elections up and down the state. You know, I
Were they all
visited.
today?
All school board is the same day. I mean, they actually have that. You know, if we could get the municipalities and everybody to do it the same day, you would have better turnout. But yeah, today's school board up and down the state. So anywhere there was a contested school board race. So I was down in Laurel talking to a friend of mine who's running in Laurel, and you know, was in Dover earlier today and spent some time with a candidate who's running in the Capital School District and talking to him. You know, so. You know, it's about engaging people, and once I get you to vote, you're now engaged, because if you vote, you're going to pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
And then
It's almost like making an investment.
Exactly. You have skin in the game. So
Right.
now I can sit there and say, okay, I don't care how you vote the first time, but once I get you to vote and you start paying attention to what that person's doing that you advocated for, win or lose, now I can have a conversation with you about the topics out there. You know,
That matter.
That matter to everybody. You know, there's been a lot of smoke and mirrors in this year's in the legislative a process of, you know, the gun bills that we didn't see coming because Sandy Hook happened late in the year, the marriage equality and other things. But that's all kind of smoke and mirrors for what's really important, which is jobs and the economy.
Do you
Because
realize so far this year, our legislature, I don't think, has talked any about jobs or economy?
No. Well, they're hiding from
we're
things
into
like
May.
Fisker. Well, but they're hiding from things like Fisker, which was supposed to be a job creator, and it wasn't. The Bloom Energy deal, which, if you agree that we need to be involved in green energy and research and development, that's great. Then you get into the actual funding of the Bloom deal, which is the load on Delmarva Power, and then you start to see it's really a bad deal because you got certain segments of populations like the city of Wilmington that are paying that bill for $20 million or whatever over the next whatever years. But you know, jobs and economy are really the baseline. If everybody had a job and was there, you wouldn't have kids who were, you know, on drugs or petty crime to feed the drug habit or whatever, because they would be too busy at work.
They might even be tired.
They might even be tired when they get home at the end of the day, and they might want to just have a cup
Not
of
all
coffee and
full
go
of
to bed.
energy.
Right.
In other words, you know, when you're not working, you got nothing but time and energy.
Right. So the whole thing with Delaware Right is you got to be able to have a conversation. We have to be able to agree to disagree without being disagreeable, because that's where the whole political process has really degraded into partisan, and, you know, I'm not going to support this piece of legislation because it's yours, as opposed to whether it's good for the people.
Right.
You know, and so we got to get, you know, yes, it's partisan. We have one party rule. You know, we need to do something about it, because even the Democrats are starting to complain that the Republicans aren't really running decent candidates and making them. So some Democrats are starting to feel like, you know, we're not doing our side as Republicans, which is making their life more difficult, because they're just jamming through whatever the governor or the legislative leaders want to do, and they have no real way to stop and say, hey, wait a minute here, and build a coalition.
There's not a good balance.
There is not a good balance, but good balance, you know, voting for a Republican just because he's a Republican isn't good balance either. We got to find qualified candidates who are good candidates, who are members of their community, and again, it's not, you know, a Republican or a Democrat. Leaders create leaders, not followers.
Right.
So if you go into a community and you find the Jim Weller, who is a businessman, who is a community leader, and you run him, it doesn't matter if he's a Republican or a Democrat, because a good businessman is going to run government like a good business.
Make good sense.
And it's going to make some good sense. And you know, you have, you know, back when I worked at the legislature, back in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, we were full of DuPont people, Gore people, you know, who were the leaders. Delaware's number one employer in Delaware is the state of Delaware. So why wouldn't our legislature be reflective of that and be full of state employees? You know, good or bad, you know, you can't stop a state employee from running for office because we have a part-time legislature. But we've got to get better at delivering a message, developing a message that we can take outside of a Republican circles and talk about the ideas, because a good idea that I have, that you have, and we bring somebody else into the conversation, it becomes a better idea. And you build some consensus into...
and unity.
And unity. And it's like the two school board referendums that failed. All of these people jumped on at the end of the referendums, and the last 3 or 4 days, vote no, it's a horrible thing. But if people were going to school board meetings and working with the school districts to create a referendum that made sense, now we're voting for something instead of against something.
Right.
So if we can get the people involved, the people will be involved in the process. The process will create the solutions, and everybody buys into them. And it's not a partisan solution. It's what's good for the people.
I'm going to take a break.
Okay.
And then we'll be right back. So, folks, we are live at Jimmy's Grill. You are invited to come on down. If you've already had dinner, there's plenty of dessert here. And we're going to be back with some more with Steve, getting a little more educated on how we can get some synergy going, unified energy in Delaware, and start moving this state in a forward direction. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break. Hey everybody, Jim Weller back with Catch It Live. We are live here at Jimmy's Grill, and I've been talking to Steve Grossman off air, and I'm learning a lot. There's a lot of potential here in Delaware to really regroup, re-energize, and get people connected and motivated in the political arena.
That is correct.
In other words, and what we've got to do is, I personally think that a lot of the generation that's a little younger right now might really not like politics, but they do know they got to get involved if they want things to get better.
Right.
In other words, I don't know if they know. I think there's a disconnect.
Well, there is, because they haven't been part of the process.
Right.
I grew up, there were 3 stations to watch. There was ABC, NBC, and CBS. What was the old line? If wishes were horses, rides would be free, and if Huntley were Cronkite, we'd watch NBC.
Right.
Nobody, people are too busy either playing video games, watching MTV, or Jersey Shore or whatever. They're not watching the news shows on Sunday morning. So how do you get them engaged? And one of the things, I just helped out the new mayor of Harrington, and one of the suggestions he has is he's going to encourage each of the council members to pick a youth from the community and put together a youth advisory committee to get them involved in the process and make them come to the county or to the city and see how the city operates and runs and get them engaged. There's enough kids within the schools who really are interested. What we got to do is find them and engage them in the school. Go into the schools and create, not like a high school Republican or a high school Democrat club, but like when I was at Wesley College in the 80s, we had a Jefferson Jackson. We just had a political club where we just came together and discussed politics and got involved that way. And it wasn't partisan. It was just getting people involved. Because you're going to find that you don't always agree with the Democrat or the Republican. I mean, I'm a good Republican, but I've voted for Democrats before. And I will in the future, because sometimes they're better than the alternative, or they're the better choice, or they have more knowledge out there. I prefer a good conservative Republican business kind of guy who's going to run business the way you run your household and you run your business. But sometimes you don't get that.
Right. I like seeing business people get into politics, because what I find, if you're in business, you do know when your checkbook's empty, you stop writing checks.
Right.
I find with some people that work for state or government agencies, they're spending, I even see it in churches, to be honest with you. In other words, when you're spending money that you didn't earn, you sure spend it a lot differently than when you're spending money you did earn.
Well, you're a businessman. I used to own a business in Dover. At the end of the day, it was a restaurant and bar, and at the end of the day, my bartender manager would be putting the money in the safe, and she'd be thinking to herself, wow, Steve made $8,000 today. But I have rent, electric, and all the food. Exactly. I lost money that day because we didn't have it. But they don't have that sense, and I don't think that our founding fathers thought about people who were going to be in politics as a career. It's funny. You get involved in major campaigns, and you always dream of, gee, if we win, what job do I want? And the candidates look at me, and Jeff even looked at me and said, gee, if we're successful, is there some area that you would be interested in? And I go, wait a minute, government's the problem. I'm not a big fan of government. I love politics. Politics is a lot of fun. So if I had my choice, I would want to be in charge of your reelection campaign. Okay. Forget the government part of it. That's leave that to the people who enjoy that part of it. But you just need to get more people involved and more people out of their houses within the communities. And you do that, to me, you do it with local, municipal, town, school board, the areas where it's more important. I mean, school board elections are huge right now.
Huge in what way? What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of things that your community can be modeled after through your schools.
Okay.
When I was little, the school was the community center. It was where we got out of school on June 20th, and on June 21st we were back at the school, because that's where the summer camp was, and the arts and crafts and the playground.
It was the hub.
It was the hub. It was where, when you had a community meeting, it was at the school. Back when we had community schools. And now you don't have that sense of community at the school anymore. You got working parents, you've got single families, you've got, you don't have my mom and dad were engaged in my education, so they were at school. I lived in fear of, the principal, calling mom and saying, oh, Steve messed up today, and then mom had to come pick me up at school. That's not what you wanted to do.
Right.
But we don't have that sense anymore.
If you got in trouble in school, you were getting in trouble at home.
Yeah.
Now, if you get in trouble in school,
nobody knows.
Getting in trouble.
Well, the teachers get, and we have, you have bad administrators who spend all their time with bad teachers, and their bad teachers spend all their time with with bad students. There was a thing years ago that you can't deal with all of the bad students all the time because they might be in some socioeconomic group. And I said, well, you're kind of mixing it up. A bad kid's a bad kid, and if you can remove the bad kid from the school, who's stopping the kids that want to learn from learning? It doesn't matter, right. Where they come from or what their parents are or their activity, and you don't have that sense in education anymore. Which is why there's some people out there, school board today, that I fully supported, who might not be of the Republican persuasion, but we agree 110% on education. And that's if he was running for state representative, I'd be vehemently against him.
Right.
But school board, it's about educating the kids and getting the kids what the basic education they need to be successful, to be able to work for you and work for me and support their family and be an asset to society. Yeah.
Wow. Now this Delaware Right Radio network is fairly new.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Pretty much brand new.
Pretty much brand new.
Right.
We will begin probably in the next couple of weeks putting together some content and beginning to record some shows. You can go to the website at www.delawareright.com, and there'll be a icon you can click that will get you to it once we do it. But we'll also have the podcast up. We have a Facebook page, Delaware Right. We have a Twitter account.
Get yourself an app made.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. There's a lot between the constant contact and the gazillion ways that you communicate in the social media here. But what we learned in the last campaign was 2/3 of the voters in Delaware, 67% of the 619,000 registered voters in Delaware have Facebook accounts. And that's self-identified and free, and it's a way to push out your message.
Yep.
They don't have to come visit your Facebook or your website. You can push the information out to them, and it's just
they can easily
share it and move it, and they're friends to friends, and then you buy the ads to supplement what you're trying to get your message out to Delawareans. And you get people, and depending, we've had blog posts that have had very few hits. And we've had some that have huge, that 200, 300, 400 people have seen because of the way it gets pushed through the Facebook page and out. Some get lots of comments and some don't. But the focus of the blog is certainly not for comment. I don't want 100 comments on a thread unless it's worthy of it.
Right.
But sometimes it's just the meaningful reading of it. When you get into things like jobs and the economy, we seem to get more hits than some of the humor stuff that we put out there, or some of the insider game that we play with Republican politics when you're writing about different things that are going on within the party.
So the best way to learn more about this or contact you would be through the website.
The website, you can send me an email at steve@delawareright.com, info@delawareright.com. You can come by the office and visit us. We're in Dover at 942 Walker Road.
Are you there a lot?
I'm at this point, no. I mean, I'm there. I usually stop in at least every day. We're building up some volunteers to help keep the office open when we're not there. But once we start doing our podcasting and actually using that facility, I'll be there pretty much Monday through Friday, and then or we'll have somebody there to be able to operate it. But
so not only will you be doing what you're doing, but if somebody is watching or listening and says, "Listen, I've got a message I want to put together. I don't quite know how to do it. I wouldn't even know where to go." You can guide them, steer them, maybe help them with the right way to explain themselves, and so on.
And anybody who has an opinion about something going on within their community, political, school board, business-wise, jobs and economy, just want to do it, just send us an email with a post. We will post anything. The whole thing about our blog is it's to engage the conversation. We don't stop somebody from posting it. You want to send it to us? We might do a little spell check and clean it up a little bit, but we'll certainly send it back to you before we post it, make sure we don't change the content. But we'd be more than happy to, and we have offered this out to people who have criticized us for some of our blogs that we put out. Please write your own. We will print it verbatim because it's about the conversation. It's about being able to disagree without being disagreeable. It's about having exactly. And as I said, your idea, my idea. We bring 3, 4 more people in. It becomes a better idea. Everybody's got a piece of it, and then we can go out there and advocate some solutions once you identify the problem. So you can't start with a solution until you identify the problem.
Right, and you have to agree there is a problem.
And you have to agree there's a problem, and you have to agree that you might disagree with what the problem is totally from what I agree with, but somehow we get to the point. It's the old, let's get to the 80% we agree on, and we'll deal with the other 20% down the road.
That would be a good way. If we could get working on that, I think that would help everybody overall.
I think it would help everybody in their communities, yes.
Yep. All right, well, we're going to take a commercial break. We are going to be back. I think Colin and I are going to wrap up the show. Anthony and I are going to wrap up the show. So, Steve, we're going to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
And the website one more time?
www.delawareright.com.
DelawareRight.com. All right, we'll be right back. Me and Anthony Joseph are going to wind down this show. I can't imagine what he's going to say next. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, I'm back. Got my good friend, Anthony Joseph. Had a good show tonight. That phone call with Dick Vermeil was really good. I was really surprised that we were able to connect to him. And, boy, sure looked like he was passionate about what he's done and has really enjoyed his career and made a difference, in the field of football,
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
Because he mentioned that he had a lot of opportunities, but when he got back in coaching after he retired from the Philadelphia Eagles, he thought the St. Louis Rams was probably going to be his last great opportunity, and it really worked out.
Yeah. Kind of nice when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
he had an issue when Trent Green, his starting quarterback during that season, 1999 to 2000, went down, and then Kurt Warner just took the reins and the MVP.
Ran with it.
So, yeah.
Wow. All right. Want to talk a little racing?
Certainly, yeah.
Okay.
It was the Bojangles of 500, Saturday night racing. Because Sunday,
Under the lights.
Under the lights, it was Mother's Day.
I have a crazy question. I'm not trying to trip you up.
Okay.
Do the cars have headlights?
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so it's just the track. I wasn't trying to trip you up. I just want to make sure. All right, so no headlights, no brake lights, no turn signals.
I'll put it in perspective. You don't have a night race at Dover Downs because you don't have any lights.
None.
No.
Wonder what it would cost to put lights up there.
Millions of dollars.
Really? Wouldn't that be a nice contract to get?
It certainly would.
I
But
bet you the city of Dover would love it too, because they probably sell them their electricity.
I don't know. It would be very, very bright. So I'm not sure if the city of Dover would like that. I haven't asked them, so I'm not sure. But I'll tell you what, on Saturday night at the Lady in Black, that's what they call it,
Okay. Just Darlington?
Darlington,
Okay.
South Carolina.
Yep.
They have one groove. So if you watch the battle now, it was Kyle Busch and Casey Kane. It was late in the race.
Okay.
And Kyle Busch led a lot of laps, and they were battling back and forth. And since you have this one groove, it's right near the fence, the wall.
Okay, so it's up high.
It's up high. And a lot of them, they'll come in contact.
With
So
the
they
wall.
caught the
Oh,
Lady
the
in
cars.
Black because
Okay.
if you look at their cars, they have a streak that's black along their right side.
Really?
Yes, because there's
From
that
rubbing
one,
the wall?
From rubbing the wall, making the
Wow.
contact.
So they actually would use the wall.
Yes,
Okay.
the fastest groove is up high.
Against the wall.
Yes, and then the fence and everything, so the fans have a good view.
Wow.
It's very close.
Fast?
About 183 miles an hour.
That's fast enough. That's fast enough.
That's pretty fast, yeah.
Wow. And who won?
Matt Kenseth.
Did he? Is that his first race of the year?
No, he's third time
This year?
this year.
Wow, so he's on a roll then.
He is.
That's pretty good. Where's he at in points?
I'm glad you said that.
Oh, you got it right there?
Yes, he's
Okay.
third. So
Is
yes,
he? So he's won 3 races and he's in third in points.
yes.
That's kind of coincidental, isn't it?
Well, it really depends on being consistent. I guess everything in life you have to be consistent.
Yes.
and
you
that's
have
why
to finish before you win.
yes. And if you look at Jimmy Johnson, he's winning in points because he's Mr. Consistent. So he's number 1. You have Carl Edwards in second, Matt Kenseth, that we mentioned, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in fourth,
Okay.
and Clint Boyer rounding out your top 5 in standings. But getting back to Saturday night, it was Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson in fourth, and rounding it out, the closer, Kevin Harvick.
Okay. So that's a good team. Good field.
And Denny Hamlin returned from that broken vertebrae in his lower back.
Really?
That was his first full race. As the previous race, I think he was in for like 23 laps at Talladega, and then Brian Vickers replaced him in that race. And Vickers had an accident late in the race and finished deep in the field.
How many didn't finish Saturday night, do you know?
Probably 3 or 4, maybe.
Really? Was any big crashes?
There was a couple.
Was there?
Casey Kane and Kyle Busch.
Okay.
Late in that race, Kyle Busch, his car just went away from him. On that final pit stop, they didn't make the car adjustments that they needed to. Matt Kenseth did, and that's why he prevailed, because at the end, Kyle Busch was almost a lame duck. His car was just not that fast, and people were soaring past him.
Really? So it wasn't more or less a handling thing, it was a power thing.
Power and the adjustments that they make, correct.
Well, that's kind of bad, because once he's out there, he's out there.
Yes.
Huh. What else you got to tell
And
us?
then one thing about Kyle Busch, a tire was going down.
Okay.
So that was another problem. He had a lot of problems. That final pit stop, you have to make sure you make the right adjustments. And if a tire goes down, that's going to wreck your evening.
That's like your last shot at
Correct.
that point. Have you ever went up there in Dover when they change the tires? Have you ever seen how they do it? In the shop?
Not in the shop now.
I don't know if you know it, but inside the tire, there's another tire. It's like a liner.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you've ever noticed how when they get a flat tire, they could still keep going.
Correct.
Not under power, but,
Right.
and it's because inside that tire, there's an inner liner. Because the air pressure they really need to monitor is the air on the outside of the inner liner, that between that and the tire. But the inner liner is so in the event they have a flat, they can still get somewhere, get out of the way or something like that, or get to pit road or whatever.
Okay.
It's really amazing. If you ever go to Dover, you go down to that building. It's at the end of the where all the cars park. Wherever, what's that building? Yeah, the pits. But you go to the end of it. There's this big garage with
Right.
all these guys working for Goodyear in there, just steady mounting tires. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
The drivers spend millions of dollars throughout the year.
Yeah,
And Goodyear does a good job.
they do, and they provide the blimp.
Yes, that's true, too.
Because at one
Wrapping up-
time, I think they switched over to Hoosier tires.
I think they did briefly.
Yep. But Goodyear's got the technology and got the name, and they got the blimp.
Yes.
So it's kind of a package deal.
Right, that's true.
So, all right, tell me something else.
Wrapping up on racing. They're going to be in Charlotte Motor Speedway for the All-Star race
This weekend.
this
Is
weekend.
that Sunday?
Saturday night
Saturday night. Okay.
live on Speed.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have
Do
to
you
see
watch
it.
it live or do you tape it?
I watch it live
You watch it live.
normally.
Stay pretty calm.
I stay pretty calm. Yes.
Okay, which
I don't
your
think
dad
the,
doesn't?
I don't think the drivers do.
Okay. Okay.
Is
But I
Jimmy
meant as a
Johnson looking for
spectator.
another win?
Is he? Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. What's your prediction?
Probably Jimmy Johnson,
Jimmy Johnson,
Mr. Consistent.
Mr. Consistent. Have you had any luck getting a hold of him, being on Catch It Live? Isn't the Dover race coming up soon?
I think in time Jimmy Johnson will be.
Here.
We'll have an interview, not here,
Okay.
but we'll see Jimmy Johnson very soon.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope we're well prepared.
I know I will be.
All right.
So anyhow, moving along, as the Philadelphia, you're a mess.
All right. The Philadelphia Phillies.
No, we're not going to talk about Ryan.
Okay.
Howard. No, he's struggling at the plate, but we're not going to talk
Okay.
about the Phillies.
Not tonight.
No. So anyhow,
Philadelphia.
Eagles. Chip
Yes.
Kelly in his first season.
Okay.
Michael Vick, he's doing a lot of interviews, and he's talking about he's getting the first team reps with Nick Foles.
Okay.
And he said he thinks he'll be the starting quarterback against the Washington Redskins in week number 1. That's Monday Night Football.
Really? When's that?
That's in September.
Okay. Okay.
That's in week number 1.
Wow.
And hopefully at the time RG3 will be back, but we'll have to see. If not, it'll be Kirk Cousins. But Michael Vick's getting a lot of reps with Nick Foles in his second season. Is Matt Barkley, when he was selected, he did an interview last week, he was saying that he thought he was going to get a chance to start, but the rookie out of USC is probably going to be on the bench. He needs to learn, and I think the following year, I think that's going to be Matt Barkley's team in the future.
Okay.
He's just going to have to sit and learn. Aaron
Right.
Rodgers sat, I believe, for 4 seasons.
Man, could you imagine that?
And now the former MVP of the National Football League. You have to be patient.
That
He was
would be like
backing up
you
Brett
coming here
Favre.
every week for 4 years and watching me and saying, I'm learning something. Is that what you meant?
No.
Okay.
That's the National Football League. It's a
Okay,
lot
little more
different.
professional. All right. Anything else?
I think that'll do it as far as the Philadelphia Eagles. But just looking forward to Chip Kelly as they're practicing in that up speed or that fast-paced tempo is concerning a lot of the coaches. As it seems almost every week a coach is wondering how they're going to prepare for it. They're not sure, especially some of the broadcasters. They're wondering how these defenses or these coaches are going to be able to prepare for the tempo that Chip Kelly likes to put on the field.
Right. So he's setting a blistering pace.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, let's hope he's not too fast to last.
I think he'll do well.
Good. All right, anything else?
Yeah, now next week we're
Next
going to be in Bridgeville
Okay.
at Heritage Shores.
When?
Okay, there, Jim's a big surprise now.
No.
May 22nd, 23rd. They have their 2-day event.
Okay.
On the 22nd.
This is a golf tournament.
Yes, at Heritage
fundraiser.
Shores, big fundraiser by the Horsey Foundation in Laurel.
Yep, good people.
To benefit the kids.
Okay.
And all the proceeds goes to their foundation. So they have a lot of celebrities lined up for the Wednesday. It's basically a meet and greet. Because
Okay.
you've never been, but I've been in the past.
Okay.
So you have a lot of celebrities.
Okay.
In the past, there's been Tom Maddie, Brooks Robinson, Rocky Bleiler, and you get to talk
In
with
Bridgeville.
them. In Bridgeville. Gary
My
Clark,
goodness.
Brian Mitchell, ex-Redskins.
Wow.
So you have all these celebrities that the fans or people that purchase a ticket that they can go on this evening
And meet them.
and meet them.
Really?
This year, it's only $75. Tippy Martinez, Paul Blair, Davey Johnson. He's on Masson, one of the broadcasters with Tom Davis. It's a weekly show on Masson. I think it comes on like 5:30, and it's a panel. And his son is Steve Johnson, who just started against the Minnesota Twins. He had a bad outing. He lost, and he was demoted back to AAA at Norfolk.
Really? That's a jolt.
Yes. But Dave Johnson was a former Oriole, and he still is a big fan.
Isn't that something? So this is next Wednesday?
It's Wednesday and Thursday. We're
Thursday.
going to be there on Wednesday. It's a meet
Okay.
and greet.
Okay.
They have food.
So we're going to be doing this live.
We're going to get some interviews, and we're going to broadcast it, I believe, later.
Wow. This is exciting.
It is.
Very good.
So they have a lot of on hand if you go, because the tickets are only $75 for people that are interested.
Does that include any food?
And that includes food.
Okay.
So
So
for
for
example,
$75,
yes,
for example,
you get food.
food.
You get to meet, if you're a big Oriole fan, Tippy Martinez, Dave Johnson. Like I said, Paul
Can you
Blair.
bring things to be autographed?
You can.
Really?
Say if you have a ball that you want to get signed by
Okay.
Paul Blair, you can.
Wow.
And then that evening, they're going to have some items that will be auctioned off.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So this is a full day next Wednesday.
It's it starts at 5:30. We're going to
Okay.
be there earlier. Now, some of the items that you can bid on, and it's going to be interesting to see if you bid on anything. Because
I think I'm going to be in tall cotton here with this group. But I'll try.
But Jim, there's going to be a Tony Stewart racing suit.
Really?
Yes.
What size?
All sizes.
Okay.
Okay.
Huh.
And a
One
couple.
he wore?
He's autographed it. I don't think.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
think he actually wore this one.
Okay.
I think
And
it's
it's not
brand
one
new.
you would wear. It's one you would keep.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe in, we'll say, 15, 20 years, it could be
Maybe
worth a
worth
lot
some
of money.
money.
Yeah. Also, if you're a New York Yankee,
Okay.
it's going to be an autographed Statue of Liberty from Derek Jeter. So I guess it's an autographed. It's going to be a Statue of Liberty, probably like a miniature one, and he's already autographed it, and that's going to be for sale. So they're going to have a lot of different items. You just to really get the best ID, you need to go.
Okay.
In the past, they've had assigned items from Joe Flacco,
Okay.
Rich Gannon, Nick Markakis. So if you want something from Flacco or Gannon, make
This is the
sure
place.
you go. Yeah, Wednesday, and on Wednesday it's the meet and greet, so you can actually eat. And on Thursday, if you like golf, it's a little more, let's say, expensive, but you can actually play with a celebrity.
Really?
Yes, it's the Heritage Shores annual Horsey Foundation Golf Classic.
You been before?
I mentioned that. Yes, I have a couple
Okay.
times.
All right.
I've interviewed Rocky Bleiler and Brooks Robinson, and they're really nice people, very humble, and they like to share stories.
Okay. All right. This is going to be exciting.
I think
I'm
so.
ready for the auction.
And I believe also a signed jersey from Michael Vick. We were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles earlier. He has autographed an item.
Okay. All right. I'm ready. I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else you got to tell me?
Well, I think that'll do it for the
that's
sports segment.
a lot. All right. Well, we are winding down here. We catch it live for the night. been a good show. Thank you, Anthony, for all the effort you put into it and so on. Brooks, thank you. He's over here behind the scenes. We've got Grant over here, and glad to have him with us. He does a great job. And, of course, Colin is here, too. He's over here busy learning all about Steve Grossman's big project that's going on. Now, what do we got next? We got the rest of this week. We got Friday morning. We're going to be here with Dan Gaffney doing his show, 5:30 to 10. Then next week on Tuesday night, we got Catch It Live. And then you're saying we're going to have some interviews or something that will be on Catch It Live eventually that people can watch.
Now, we're going to be there live
We're going to
next
be there
Wednesday.
live, okay?
And we're going to get
So
some
people
interviews.
can watch it live.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to tape some of the interviews.
And then put them on
We're
later.
going to put them on a later date, and
Okay.
then the following Anthony Joseph Sports Show at 5:30, we're going to have a couple of the interviews.
That's a great idea. Whose idea was that?
We were talking about it earlier.
Okay. I must not have been paying attention, but I don't really think I was in the conversation.
Yeah, no, it was not between you and
That
me.
was an executive conversation that I wasn't in because I was in the executive lounge. But anyway, very good. Now, I do want to remind people, we're looking for work. So, if you have an event that you would like us to consider coming to, streaming it for you, or I had another conversation with somebody the other day, and they said, well, what else can you do? And I said, well, let's just take, for example, you've got a website, and your website just, has all kinds of, I don't know if the word's static, where things are just there. But we could come to your business, and we could take different products, and we could help interview you through it, like, what's so nice about this cup, and, and things like that, and promote your business. If you have a facility that does repair work or has different pieces of machinery, we can show that. So we can do a whole lot more for your business if you want stuff that we would produce for you, and then you put it on your website indefinitely. Yes.
So, for example, if you have a car dealership,
Yep.
that would be ideal.
Yes, if you want to show a couple vehicles.
Right.
If you want to meet your sales staff, something like
Right.
that. If you wanted us to show your service department, maybe you've got an award-winning service department, that's very organized and clean and stuff like that. But it makes it so you can, when you buy a radio ad, you just got the radio ad. If
Right.
you buy a TV ad, it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute, and then that's over. We're talking about a 5 or 10 or 20 or 30-minute, production that, when somebody goes on your website, they can, get a feel for who your different salespeople are. They could introduce themselves or something like that. But there's a lot we can offer. And, Colin and I are getting ready to do some things with our own businesses using Catch It Live. But we really want to make sure people start thinking outside the box, because a lot of business is done nowadays where people feel comfortable. Where they meet you or talk to you, and they would rather meet you and talk to you without having to meet you and talk to you just yet. So they can watch a video, they can see how you talk, how you act, how your passion is or your passion isn't, and so on. So this is something we're trying to do, is help businesses think outside the box. We don't charge a whole lot for what we do. In fact, we've been working for nothing so far. So anyway, but we have some ideas that could help you grow your business or your organization or promote a product or promote a service if you're interested. So again, 337-7300 if you want to give me a call. If you'd ever like to be on the show, let us know, and we'll figure out a way to work you in. We are a couple months out right now. And other than that, that's about it. So anything else, Anthony?
No, but I think the best thing is you have a visual, you can actually see it.
Yes.
And really become a personal, because a lot of people these days are very busy, so they go on the internet and
At their leisure.
Yep. And they want to connect with the business, but if you go to the website, you really can't see this. So
No.
if Catch It Live can kind of help them out, it's really beneficial.
It's a win-win.
Yes.
For everybody. And the neat thing is, once you have us come do all this, it's there indefinitely.
Right. It's there forever.
So if you are like me and you just keep gaining weight, nobody would ever know it because you get the videos done while you're thin. So anyway, that's about it. Thanks a lot, Anthony.
Thanks,
Good
Jim.
job. Colin Walls, thanks a lot. And who have I got over here? What's his name, that guy over there? Brooks. I'm just messing with you. I know his name. Anyway, he's one of my favorite salesmen. Anyway, and thanks a lot, Grant. So other than that, God bless you all. Have a good night, and we will see you when we see you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.